Hello viewers. Today I will discuss on three very important pathways involved in carbohydrate metabolism. The tricarboxylic acid cycle or TCA cycle, the glyoxylate cycle and pentose phosphate pathway. The TCA cycle is also called Krebs cycle after its discoverer Hans Krebs, who discovered this pathway in 1937. In the presence of oxygen, all carbohydrate molecules, fatty acids, they are degraded to acetyl-CoA first. These acetyl-CoA molecules then enter into this cycle and are completely converted to carbon dioxide and water. Also, in case of protein metabolism, several amino acids derived from protein are converted to the intermediates of this cycle and thus enter into the cycle and metabolized through this cycle. So, TCA cycle is very important in the metabolism of all biomolecules. TCA cycle has 8 steps, 3 of them are irreversible and acetyl-CoA is completely oxidized to carbon dioxide molecule. And the energy released during the oxidation is conserved in the form of reduced coenzymes FADH2 and NADH. I will describe each step in detail. The first step involves condensation of one molecule of acetyl-CoA with one molecule of oxaloacetate, and the reaction is catalyzed by the enzyme citrate synthase, which irreversibly catalyzes the reaction and forms the citrate. The reaction releases huge amount of energy. The next step is catalyzed by the enzyme aconitase or aconitase hydratase, which reversibly isomerizes citrate to isocitrate through the intermediate cis-aconitate or tricarboxylic acid. The third step of TCA cycle is again an irreversible reaction, and this reaction is catalyzed by the enzyme isocitrate dehydrogenase. This enzyme converts isocitrate to alpha-ketoglutarate, and the electrons released are trapped by the electron acceptor NAD plus or NADP plus. There are two types of isocitrate dehydrogenase. One requires NAD plus as the electron acceptor, one requires NADP plus as the electron acceptor. The fourth reaction is catalyzed by the enzyme alpha-ketoglutarate dehydrogenase complex, and the reaction mechanism is oxidative decarboxylation. That means the reaction releases one carbon molecule as CO2 and the electrons released are trapped by NAD plus molecules, finally producing NADH molecules. The coenzyme acts as a substrate of the enzyme complex alpha-ketoglutarate dehydrogenase. Next step is again irreversible one, and this reaction is catalyzed by the enzyme succinyl-CoA synthetase. Synthetase enzymes are enzymes which utilize ATP or other nucleoside triphosphates as their substrate. The high energy thioester bond is broken down here, and the energy released is captured by GDP and PI to form one GTP molecule. The product of this reaction is succinate. In the next step, succinate converted to fumarate by the enzyme succinate dehydrogenase. It releases the electrons from succinate and produces fumarate. Succinate dehydrogenase requires FAD plus as its electron acceptor. It is a flavoprotein. In case of prokaryotic cells, the succinate dehydrogenase is bound to the plasma membrane, whereas in the eukaryotic cells, this enzyme is bound to the inner mitochondrial membrane. The next step is hydration, reversible hydration of fumarate to malate. The reaction is catalyzed by the enzyme fumarase. In the last reaction of TCA cycle, malate dehydrogenase converts L-malate to oxaloacetate. The electrons released are trapped by NAD plus molecule to form NADH. Now, TCA cycle is very tightly regulated in each cell. The regulation occurs at two levels. Number one, during the formation of acetyl-CoA from pyruvate, and that reaction is catalyzed by the pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. Pyruvate dehydrogenase complex is activated in the presence of high concentrations of ADP, NAD+, whereas it is inactivated by high concentrations of NADH, acetyl-CoA, etc. The other level of controlling the cycle is through the irreversible steps of TCA cycle. The reactions catalyzed by citrate synthase, the reaction catalyzed by isocitrate dehydrogenase, and the reaction catalyzed by alpha-ketoglutarate dehydrogenase. And the rate of flux into the cycle is governed by three factors. Number one, substrate availability, product inhibition, and third one is competitive feedback inhibition. First, I will discuss the regulation of the enzyme citrate synthase. Citrate synthase, the activity of citrate synthase is regulated by the availability of its substrates, acetyl-CoA and oxaloacetate. And citrate, high concentration of citrate, that is the product of the citrate synthase itself, inhibits the enzyme. Citrate synthase is also inhibited by high concentrations of succinyl-CoA, a product of the enzyme complex alpha-ketoglutarate dehydrogenase. And high concentrations of ATP, NADH also inhibit the enzyme, whereas high concentrations of ADP activates the enzyme citrate synthase. Isocitrate dehydrogenase enzyme also inactivated by the presence of high concentrations of ATP, whereas high concentrations of ADP and calcium plus 2 ion activate the enzyme complex. Alpha-ketoglutarate dehydrogenase complex is inactivated by high concentrations of NADH and succinyl-CoA, its own product, and high concentrations of calcium activates this enzyme complex. Now, in aerobic organisms, TCA cycle plays amphibolic nature. That means TCA cycle is involved both in catabolism and in anabolism. We have already discussed how TCA cycle is involved in catabolism. Now, we will discuss the anabolic pathways. The alpha-ketoglutarate and oxaloacetate produced as the intermediates of TCA cycle, they serve as the precursor molecules for a number of biosynthetic pathways. Like from alpha-ketoglutarate and oxaloacetate, the amino acid glutamate and aspartate are formed. And these two amino acids then serve as the precursor molecules for the synthesis of other amino acids and for purine and pyrimidine biosynthesis. Oxaloacetic acid also used for gluconeogenic pathway. That means oxaloacetic acid can be converted to glucose by the gluconeogenic pathway. And succinyl-CoA, it plays an important role during the synthesis of hemoglobin. The citrate produced as an intermediate plays an important role in many microorganisms. Now, as the intermediates of TCA cycle are removed to serve as precursors for different biosynthetic pathways, the concentrations of these intermediates should be down in the cell. So, to replenish these intermediates, there are many reactions occur in the cell. They are called anaplerotic reactions. Like in heart muscle, there is an enzyme pyruvate carboxylase. This enzyme converts pyruvate to oxaloacetate. Another enzyme, phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase, which also converts phosphoenol pyruvate to oxaloacetate. The phosphoenol pyruvate carboxylase enzyme is present in higher plants, yeast and bacteria. This enzyme converts phosphoenol pyruvate to oxaloacetate. And a widespread enzyme, malic enzyme, that converts pyruvate to malate. So, the concentration of oxaloacetate is maintained in the cell by these anaplerotic reactions. Now, I will describe another cyclic pathway that is called glyoxylate pathway. Vertebrates cannot use the acetyl-CoA molecules derived from fatty acids for glucose synthesis. But in plants, in some invertebrates and in some microorganisms, this molecule, acetyl-CoA molecule or acetate, can serve as both as an energy-rich fuel and as a precursor for gluconeogenesis. In plants, the enzymes responsible for converting acetate to glucose are present in an organelle called glyoxysome. So, this cycle is called glyoxylate cycle. In prokaryotes, all the enzymes of TCA cycle and glyoxylate cycle are found in the cytosol. Glyoxylate cycle converts acetyl-CoA into succinate molecule. What happens in the glyoxylate cycle? One molecule of acetyl-CoA combines with one molecule of oxaloacetate to form one molecule of citrate, just as in TCA cycle. Then the citrate is converted to isocitrate by same mechanism. Now this isocitrate is broken down into one molecule of succinate and one molecule of glyoxylate by a new enzyme called isocitrate lyase. The succinate produced can be utilized as a precursor for biosynthetic pathways, and the glyoxylate, it combines with another molecule of acetyl-CoA and forms malate. Malate is converted to oxaloacetate by malate dehydrogenase. So, and the oxaloacetate is now again reacts with one molecule of acetyl-CoA and runs a second cycle of glyoxylate cycle. So, through this cycle, two molecules of acetyl-CoA are converted to one molecule of succinate and the reducing equivalents are converted to NADH molecule. In plants, the glyoxysomes are not always found in all tissues. During germination or before germination in fuel-rich seeds or oil-rich seeds, these glyoxysomes appear to supply the succinate molecule for gluconeogenesis before the plant starts its ability to do photosynthesis. Vertebrates don't have these two enzymes, isocitrate lyase and malate synthase, so they are unable to convert acetate into glucose or carbohydrates. TCA cycle and glyoxylate cycle are tightly regulated in each cell. Now I will describe another pathway called pentose phosphate pathway. Glucose 6-phosphate molecule is converted to pentose phosphates by this pathway, and so this pathway is called pentose phosphate pathway. First few steps involve oxidation of the molecules, and thus the initial phase is called oxidative phase of pentose phosphate pathway. The first reaction of pentose phosphate pathway is catalyzed by the enzyme glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase. This enzyme converts glucose 6-phosphate into 6-phosphogluconate delta lactone. Next step is catalyzed by the enzyme lactonase, which converts this lactone into 6-phosphogluconate. And the electron released in the first step is accepted by the electron acceptor NADP+. The third step is catalyzed by the enzyme 6-phosphogluconate dehydrogenase, and NADP+ is the electron acceptor here also. So, after the third step, two molecules of NADPH molecules are generated. Now, after third step, the product formed is ribulose 5-phosphate, a ketopentose. Now, pentose phosphate isomerase converts this ribulose 5-phosphate into ribose 5-phosphate, a precursor of nucleotide biosynthesis. In some tissues, pentose phosphate pathway ends here. The ribose 5-phosphate is utilized to synthesize the nucleotides, and the NADPH molecules produced are utilized in the reductive biosynthesis. But in the tissues which depend on PPP for only NADPH, this ribose 5-phosphate is converted to glucose 6-phosphate again. And this phase is called non-oxidative phase of pentose phosphate pathway. Now, two enzymes, transaldolase and transketolase, they play very vital role in the non-oxidative phase of pentose phosphate pathway. The first reaction is catalyzed by transketolase, which transfers a 2-carbon fragment or ketol group from one molecule of xylulose 5-phosphate to one molecule of ribose 5-phosphate. Now, how xylulose 5-phosphate is produced? Xylulose 5-phosphate is produced from ribose 5-phosphate. So, After the transketolase shifts the ketol group from xylulose 5-phosphate to ribose 5-phosphate, one molecule of pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate is produced and the remaining part is called glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Now the transaldolase catalyzes the next step. Transaldolase shifts a 3-carbon fragment called aldol group from pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, producing one molecule of fructose 6-phosphate and a 4-carbon molecule called erythrose 4-phosphate. Now again transketolase transfers a ketol group from a new xylulose 5-phosphate molecule to the erythrose 4-phosphate, producing fructose 6-phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Two glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate molecules thus formed can join to form glucose 6-phosphate. So from 6 5-carbon molecules, after 2 rounds of non-oxidative phase, we can get 5 molecules of 6-carbon phosphates. Pentose phosphate pathway is very important since it produces 2 molecules of NADPH after each cycle. Pentose phosphate pathway is very active in liver, adrenal cortex and mammary glands. Why? Because these tissues are responsible for producing sterol, cholesterol, etc. During the biosynthesis of these molecules, NADPH is required, which is supplied by the pentose phosphate pathway. The pathway is also active in intestinal mucosa, skin, bone marrow, where rate of cell division is very high and new cells are generated very quickly. And for the generation of new cells, ribose 5-phosphate is required since it provides the precursor molecules for nucleotide biosynthesis. This pathway is absent in skeletal muscle tissue. Now the NADPH molecules formed is also very important for the dismutation of reactive oxygen species. Tissues which are in direct contact to air or oxygen very quickly develop this reactive oxygen species. Like oxygen, very quickly after accepting electron, it is converted to superoxide radical that after combining with H plus ions forms H2O2. All these molecules are called reactive oxygen species and they are very harmful for the biomolecules since they form adducts with biomolecules. Now in our system we have antioxidative enzymes like superoxide dismutase, catalase, glutathione peroxidase, and these enzymes help in the dismutation or removal of the reactive oxygen species. The H2O2 formed is converted to water molecules by the enzyme glutathione peroxidase and the reducing equivalent here comes from the glutathione, and glutathione is in turn oxidized to oxidized glutathione. Now to convert back the oxidized glutathione into reduced glutathione, again the reducing equivalents come from NADPH molecules. So in the absence of NADPH molecules, removal of reactive oxygen species will be incomplete and that will lead to the accumulation of ROS in the cells and that will eventually damage all the biomolecules and lead to the damage of the cell. Now in some individuals, the enzyme which is responsible for producing NADPH, that is the first reaction of pentose phosphate pathway, glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase is absent. Those individuals are prone to develop more reactive oxygen species in their cells. Now a very interesting observation has been seen in some parts of Middle East Africa where malaria is very prevalent. In those areas, 25% of population is glucose 6-phosphate deficient and at the same time they are resistant to malaria. What happens here? When an individual is glucose 6-phosphate deficient, he is generating less NADPH and more reactive oxygen species. Now those reactive oxygen species present in the erythrocytes are able to kill the malarial parasite, though it is tolerable to the host. That's why the glucose 6-phosphate deficient individuals may be resistant to malaria. Now pentose phosphate pathway is very tightly regulated in a cell. The first enzyme, glucose-6-phosphate dehydrogenase, is allosterically regulated by the concentration of NADP+. When a cell is actively utilizing NADPH, NADP plus concentration increases in the cell and allosterically activates the enzyme glucose-6-phosphate dehydrogenase. And when the cell is not utilizing NADPH, NADP plus concentration falls and the enzyme glucose-6-phosphate dehydrogenase becomes inactive, and the glucose-6-phosphate then enters into the glycolysis. Thus, glucose-6-phosphate is partitioned between glycolysis and pentose phosphate pathway. Today we have learned three pathways: the TCA cycle, the glyoxylate cycle and pentose phosphate pathway.